There's not more of that. There's just the one. I made it very clear that we have the one of them. Let me know if not, because we can put something in there. What time? You tell me tomorrow morning. You know, like tomorrow midday or whatever. If not, we'll get crafty on it. You'll have to get your crew down. That's nice. That sounds nice. Yeah.
Hey, he told me he and his wife, they do so much traveling. They live in Rust out there.
We forgot he was giraffe.
Yeah.
Ran around.
He'll be in the market too short.
He's an interesting guy. Could sing.
Still that. Yeah, he was an interesting guy.
You make sure you take something with my face. I saw your face.
Well, he's interesting guy. He told me about his Judy Bear face.
Oh, yeah.
It was very interesting.
Hey.
Remember these?
Okay.
Run, Roy, run.
It's not a good day to wear it because he's not here. It's out of the country.
Woody.
Yes, sir. It is 3:35 on June 20th. I'd like to call this Caddo Parish Commission work session to order. Mr. Clerk, could we have a roll call, please?
Absolutely. Commissioner Hopkins.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Present.
Commissioner Jackson. Commissioner Young. Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Jones.
Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Taliaferro.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Chavez.
Here, sir.
Commissioner Lazarus. And Commissioner Epperson. All right, that gives us 8 members present. No, I'm sorry, 7 members present, which is a quorum. Did I count correctly? I'm sorry. Yes. Yes, that was accurate. Thank you.
7 members present. That is a quorum. Okay, Mr. Clerk. Thank you very much. I'd like to ask Commissioner Gage Watts if you wouldn't mind at this last minute to give the invocation. And Commissioner Hopkins, could you lead us in the pledge?
Yes.
All stand, please.
Let us pray. Oh God, how we humbly come before your throne of grace and mercy, Lord. Thanking you, God, for a brand new day, God, new mercies, God, new opportunities, oh God, to start all over again. Lord, we invoke your presence into this meeting, oh Lord. God, we ask that you will cover those, Father God, who are in need, Father God, of whatever it may be in this very hour, Lord. We ask that you help us to make the best decisions for the citizens of Caddo Parish, and it is in your name that we trust and believe that it is so. Amen.
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 You join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Mr. Clerk, do we have any visitors?
Well, that brings us actually to
Or
agenda
citizen-
additions, and I'm not aware of any agenda additions unless, okay.
Mr. President, I would like to have an agenda addition to request that the administration have the flags at half-staff until City Marshal Charlie Caldwell is laid to rest.
Second.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson to have the flags flown at half-mast until Marshal Caldwell is put to rest, and it was seconded by Commissioner Gage Watts. So we'll have to open this to the floor to see anyone. If there's anyone to speak for or against this agenda addition, please come to the surface, come to the podium. Seeing no one, we'll close the public hearing and go to a vote. Mr. Clerk, are you familiar with what? Okay. Mr. Clerk, we're ready.
Okay. So should we cast?
Pardon?
I was just making sure there's a couple missing.
Commissioner Young? Commissioner Atkins?
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries with 8 in support and none in opposition to expand the agenda to include the request to move the flags to half-mast until Marshal Charlie Caldwell is laid to rest. And that will be included at the end of your new business.
Thanks, everybody.
And that brings us to the next section, which is citizens' comments. We do have 2, unless there are any other agenda additions, I'm sorry. Okay, seeing none. Thank you. We did receive 2 citizens' comments today, which have been submitted to the president. If there are any more, there are forms to sign in the front lobby, and you can return a form right here to the at the edge over here, and we will give you 3 minutes. And if you'd like to proceed, there we go.
Okay. Marion Burks. Please come to the podium. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Welcome to the commission.
Okay, thank you. I'm Marion Clayville Burks, address 2827 Merle, Shreveport, Louisiana. And I was coming today to speak on behalf of the resolution for Bloody Caddo. I'm not sure if this is the time to speak now or, okay. Well, I was coming because I have been doing community work in this area for a long time, of course, born and raised here. And there was always a misconception about Caddo Parish, especially in light of the things that's going on in the news with violence and everything. And so traveling around the state, I always wanted to just kind of find out what other people thought of our community on the outside. And so that's when I came across a great conversation with a state official that talked about bloody Caddo. And when I learned about it, I was completely enthralled and stayed up probably for 4 days researching bloody Caddo and what it meant. Just to learn about the trauma that our community has went through over a number of years was devastating to me. And I could see how it tied into what's going on today. So I'm here to speak in favor of the resolution for bloody Caddo to be publicized so we could get to the healing. We can't get anywhere without healing what we have to heal in our community. And to heal what we have to heal in our community, we have to acknowledge the past. And unfortunately, it's uncomfortable, but it is very needed. So I am speaking in favor of it today. Okay.
We can't ask questions, but is that the end of your statement?
That is it.
Thank you very much for coming down. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Craig Lee.
Great afternoon, great afternoon.
Hello, Mr. Lee.
Craig Lee, 1112 Prospect Street, Shreveport, Louisiana. Right now, you're being handed an activity ban, and it reads, "We are one." That's from the Caddo Parish class of 1985. Parish Commissioner Lyndon Johnson and myself were at Fair Park at the same time. He's a year younger. Stormy Gage-Wise came out of the same phenomenal institution. So I'm handing that to you specifically. You know, today is a very important day. It's the first day in United States history that Juneteenth is being observed as a federal holiday. And this body has done a phenomenal job in moving forth for the removal of the Confederate statue. It's been a very contentious issue since the past 3 decades, over the past 3 decades. Mr. Ron Hamilton started this process over 30 years ago. I picked up the banner, the baton, after he passed over 20 years ago. I picked up the baton, and we've now moved forward. Your colleague, Lyndon Johnson, is going to be putting forth legislation to remove the lynching tree at the Caddo Parish Courthouse, which is a very important symbol also of racism and white supremacy in Caddo Parish. And I think as we move forward, that the removal of that symbol, that tree, is going to also go towards the healing that my good colleague Marion just talked about. Today wouldn't have happened if it had not been for the radical Republicans of 1865, because on January the 31st, 1865, the radical Republicans, my good partner, Dr. Woodrow, they wrote and passed legislation that created the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution. That was on January the 31st, 1865. And some 2.5 months later, our ancestors in Texas and certain parts of Louisiana found out that they had been freed. Although they incorrectly celebrate Juneteenth by connecting it to the Emancipation Proclamation, it was really the 13th Amendment that actually gave my ancestors that freedom. It really is a Texas and Louisiana holiday that's now been expanded because there was never any actual Independence Day or Emancipation Day for our ancestors. So Juneteenth has kind of taken on that enormous thing. But it was the Republican Party that set out to begin the process of righting some of the wrongs of the past. And I asked the Republican Party of this body to basically take on the same spirit of the radical Republicans of 1865 and now invoke this legislation that Caddo Parish Commissioner Johnson is going to be pushing for the removal of the lynching tree. And I thank you very much for the time, and I look forward to engaging you guys in September when we have our CC Antoine birthday celebration, and we will be honoring Ron Hamilton and some of the other courageous individuals here in Caddo. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. That is it for visitors.
Okay, that brings us to commission remarks with communiques, reports, and other items related to the work session agenda. You do have an administrator report attached, as well as the financials for May, which you also have a printout at your stations.
Okay, if there's any commission remarks, please get on the board. Seeing nobody. One more time, going once, going twice. Okay, we will move on to administrative reports.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Wilson?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just a couple items today. In the detention center, we have 22 children. 7 belongs to OJJ. 11 are 17-year-olds, and we have 11 at CCC. Let me make sure that's correct. Okay. Also, you should have the financial report at your station as well for the day. And that concludes my report, sir.
Okay. Any questions for Dr. Wilson?
I have one.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Gage-Watt.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, Dr. Wilson.
Yes, ma'am.
I know yesterday the courthouse was not lit up red for Sickle Cell Awareness Month.
Okay.
Did they forget to change the lights?
Yes, ma'am. We'll check.
Okay, would you, and if so, would you have them to go ahead and shine them bright tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
They're supposed to be purple and gold for the weekend.
They still wore purple and gold yesterday.
Okay.
Anything else, Commissioner Gage-Watt?
That's it, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Young?
Thank you, Mr. President. Dr. Wilson,
Yes, sir.
the 7 juveniles who are in our care at juvenile detention who are
OJJ.
OJJ custody, are they the same? Are they some of the same kids who were there last time?
I believe
or
they are.
Or have they switched out?
Yeah, I believe they are. We'll find out here quickly.
Mr. Walker, come answer that question for us.
I believe 2 or 3 were picked up last week before Friday, and then 2 more were brought in. So
Okay.
it's 7 is the same number as last time.
So
but
we have 4 who've been there for a long time.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
4 are over the 14-day limit. They're supposed to move them in 14 days, and 4 or 5 of them are now over that limit.
How far over the limit are they?
I'd have to look and see, but I think they're the longest is about 10 days over, and the shortest is 2 or 3 days over.
Okay.
We track how long they've been in and how long they've been committed.
And what do we do when they're over the limit for staying here?
OJJ is ordered to get them within the 14 days. They are coming back into court at those 14 days and asking for an extension and being granted that extension.
Okay, so they're over a 14-day limit, but it's been extended.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's
Yes.
all. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Anyone else? Seeing no one, let's carry on, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, that brings us to President's report.
I have no report today.
Okay, that'll bring us to old business. We have no old business today, but I did want to draw your attention just to, there is an item on the consent agenda that will be appearing in your old business on Thursday. And I just want to mention that here because sometimes we don't use the old business section that frequently. And in the event that, you have something you're looking for to appear later in the week, I just want to call that to your attention right now. That brings us to new business where.
Mr. Clerk, 1 second.
1 second. Mr. Clerk, which item is
Sorry,
it?
it's the first item on your consent agenda, which is just the discussion regarding the NGO updates. That was one that had been postponed to go to that following the committee discussing those items.
12.1.
Okay,
So,
thank you. I just wanted clarification to which item will be added under the consent agenda for old business during our regular session.
yes, ma'am. So
Thank
that'll
you.
show up in the old business section on your Thursday agenda.
Thank you.
All right. Is everybody ready to move to new business?
Yes, sir.
That'll bring us to the first item is to authorize the introduction of ordinance number 6240 of 2022, That's an ordinance to adopt section 12-27 relative to occupational licenses, enacting provisions regarding video poker truck stops, pari-mutual facilities and off-track wagering facilities to prohibit within a certain distance from particular facilities or properties and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Moved to Thursday.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hopkins, a second from Commissioner Young. Commissioner Hopkins, would you like to comment on your motion?
This is the occupational license ordinance that puts the new pari-mutuel or the off-track racing law that was put into effect this session. And it'll just put that same off-track wagering facilities on the same line with truck stops and video poker establishments. So the committee met, long-range committee met, and it did come out of long range with a positive in favor of introducing.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on this item before we vote? Seeing none, let's vote on forwarding this to the agenda.
All right, and that passes with 7 in support, none in opposition. And the balance of those are absences. That brings us to 9.2, which is authorizing the introduction of ordinance 6241 of 2022. That's an ordinance relative to the compensation of commission members to provide for an increase in that compensation and to otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance. Next.
We have a motion from Commissioner Johnson, a second from Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts to advance to item 9.2. Commissioner Johnson, would you like to comment?
It's very self-explanatory. It's basically a 5% increase on compensation for commissioners. It will start the next term, so it won't be next year. It'll be 2 years down the road. And I think with the inflation and the way things are going, that commission needs, if you're actually doing the work as a commissioner, with gas and making this meeting here and that meeting there, I think you need that 5% increase. I think it only adds up to about $97, $94 somewhere in there.
And just to be fair to the originator, you will be term limited out and not eligible to
No, I won't benefit from this at all. I'm just looking out for the general of the 12 that will be sitting here.
Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah.
Commissioner?
I'll make one, President.
Chavez.
I'll be voting to advance this forward. Still don't know how I feel about it, but I agree with Commissioner Johnson that the amount of work that a commissioner does, if you really field all the phone calls and are really in the neighborhood, it's a good 20 to 30 hour work week and a $1,500 a month compensation. I'm thankful that I have a business and I can afford the availability to field the phone calls and go on all the meetings. But for someone that doesn't have a way to finance the work of the commission job, I don't see how they can do a good job at $1,500 a month working 30 hours a week. So I know there's going to be some long, tough conversations, but looking at maybe consolidation of government between city council and commissioners and a way where the collaboration between the two could be more effective for the service of their constituents, those conversations eventually need to be had in our area. So I know it's a bold move for Commissioner Johnson to bring this forward. He's going to get a lot of flack about it because people think that politicians are overpaid as it stands, but if they're actually to carry out their hourly wage at the workload that they take in, the compensation does not match the workload. And I know Commissioner Johnson sees that, and that's why he put it on here. That's all, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Hopkins.
You know, I've consistently over the years been against raising salaries for elected officials, whether it be here or when I was the mayor of Wall City. You know, this job is basically community service is the way I look at it. And it's kind of our responsibility as citizens of this parish to do that type of thing. So, I mean, I just don't personally
support raising the compensation. And I know everybody, they have their own way of what way feel about that. And I respect that, but I won't be supporting this today or in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will be voting in support of this ordinance. It's often said that we in Caddo Parish carry more than a full 40-hour work week as commissioners, as it was stated in the beginning. The ones of us who does take those calls, who does take the opportunity to visit with our constituents, this is not a salary that is conducive, regardless if it's for community service or using your personal vehicles or paying for laundry of your clothing. I think that we are at a pivotal point in history where things are higher than they've ever been before, and we are looking that we're going in a higher direction. With that being said, some of us collect more than one income from this body already, and I think that some would not agree that that would be something that some of us should be able to do, but we are. So again, I will be in support of this ordinance, and I hope that my colleagues would as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Seeing no one else, I put myself on the board. I respect everybody's view on this. I know that we have some very hardworking commissioners out there, and that being a commissioner is a financial sacrifice. But to me personally, the current wages are sufficient, so I will not be supportive of the proposition. All right. Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote.
All right, that motion does not advance with 3 in support and 5 in opposition. And so that brings us to 9.3, authorizing the introduction of ordinance 6242 of 2022 in relation to zoning case 21-39-P. That's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north side of Wells Island Road, approximately 800 feet northwest of Reverse Drive, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R17, Single Family Residential District, and NA, Natural Areas District, to OS, Open Space District, and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. This is in District 3.
Move to introduce.
Second. We had a motion from Commissioner Hopkins, a second from Commissioner Chavez, I believe, to introduce. Commissioner Hopkins.
This is a ordinance that affects District 3, and Commissioner Jackson asked that I go ahead and introduce this so we can have public hearing and a vote in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Okay. Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote.
I'm sorry, who was that second? I don't think I got that down correctly. Okay, thank you.
Chavez.
All right, that motion carries with 8 in support and none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item. 9.4 is to authorize the introduction of ordinance 6243 of 2022 in relation to zoning case 22-7-P. It's an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north side of Old Mooringsport Road, approximately 2,350 feet east of North Market Street, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from Tract A, RA, Rural Agricultural Zoning District, to R17, Single Family Residential, and Tract B, from RA, Rural Agricultural District, to R15, Single Family Residential District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto, and this is in District 2.
Move to advance.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Hopkins to advance. Commissioner Johnson, any comments?
None.
None? Okay. Seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
All right, that motion carries with 8 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to the next item today, which is 9.5, authorizing resolution number 35 of 2022. That's a resolution authorizing the Parish Attorney's Office to request an opinion from the Louisiana State Attorney General's Office regarding the authority of the Parish Commission to pass an ordinance requiring that certain types of ammunition be carried separately from the gun and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Move to advance.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Johnson, a second by Commissioner Hopkins to advance this issue. Any comments?
Just trying to get the opinion so that we know what we can do.
Okay. All right, seeing no one on the board, let's vote.
All right, that passes with 8 in support, none in opposition. And that brings us to the next item. 9.6 is authorizing the introduction of resolution number 36 of 2022. That's a resolution declaring a public apology for, a resolution declaring a public apology for bloody Caddo and systemic racism perpetrated on African American citizens of Caddo Parish and otherwise providing with respect thereto. From Commissioner Gage Watts.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Gage Watts, a second by Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes, sir. As you heard from two of our citizens today about this public apology, this is a multi-pronged approach to promote healing in Caddo Parish. As we search for our identity, it's imperative that we acknowledge from our hurtful past. I've heard often that there's a lot of black and dark energy that hovers over Caddo Parish, which could be a direct result of high violent crimes in our area, the poverty, the inequities in health and in race, the severe trauma that has overshadowed our land and caused many to live up to the awful name of Bloody Caddo. From 1896 to 1937, there were lynches in Caddo Parish, and in 1942 began electrocutions. The Dortoir era from 1952 to 1977, and from 1984 to 2013, there were wrongly convicted innocent men collectively who spent 33 years on death row. From then to now, we're not nationally known for racist remarks, peaceful protests that escalated into counter-protests, armed with guns to kill innocent protesters. COVID exposed many deficiencies, unprecedented deaths, along with housing deficits in the black communities. As Mrs. Clayville Burke's words, here's an attempt at us to apologize and to move forward on making it right. And I ask for your support in passing this resolution.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I'll be voting to advance this forward, but in the interim, I've requested some comments from my constituents in my district. My family's not from here. We're from California, and being Hispanic, we're obviously from Mexico. So I didn't really know about Bloody Caddo and a lot of the history that went on here. I think it would be kind of cool if we had maybe the Robinson to do like a PSA and like people could learn more about what's going on or what had happened. I didn't know about the stories, but I've asked some citizens their comments on this. I know one constituent emailed you, Commissioner Watts. She'd asked me, she said, I'm waiting for a response from the commissioner. And I know a couple other people had emailed me about it, just asking questions. So I know between now and Thursday we'll get more information on this, but I'll be offering to move it forward to investigate this further. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to make a substitute motion to send this to committee and also to forward it to the first regular session in July.
All right, we have a substitute motion from Commissioner Young to send this to committee and then have it come to the full body at the first session in July. Do we have a second? Seeing no second, that proposed motion fails. Thank you for the proposal. All right, anyone else on the board? Seeing no.
I have a question.
Commissioner Gage Watts.
Yes, I would just like to ask if that resolution is in response to support of this resolution. Is there something that you're offering
Go ahead.
May I answer? Oh, so Commissioner Gage-Watts, it seems to me that this is a very sensitive topic, and the apology is wide-ranging, and it would be easier for more people to agree about the terms if we had a longer discussion in committee to talk about what terms were agreeable to more of us, and then move forward with an apology that more people could get behind.
Okay. Well, I've already spoken now.
Okay. All right, so Commissioner Johnson.
Yes, so basically what I'm interpreting, what you just said, is basically watering down the words and the apology. Is that correct?
Go ahead.
May I answer? Watering down would be a way to interpret what I said. What I intended to say was to use the democratic process and discussion to reach compromise language that everybody or more people would vote for, a majority of us.
Okay, so I guess when you're talking about a subject that's as sensitive as this, the watering down process really doesn't have the effect of the apology. It just means that you done came to some words collectively to say that it appeases both groups, and the apology is not the same. The apology has to be heartfelt, and the recipient of it has to feel that you mean the words that were actually written and not a version that has been changed. There are some sensitive things we're going to have to vote on. We voted on things in the past. We still got the gun thing that's still floating around. We got another object, another point on the meeting today. Besides this, we voted on. You turned down the compensation deal, which you felt was too controversial. But at the same time, we can't vote no on everything that we feel is controversial, and yes on everything that's business as usual. People don't look for us to do that. I mean, they look for us to make some tough decisions and to actually step out there and do some things. To come down here and to say we're gonna vote on this 9.4, 9.3, which is pretty much from the administration, and say we can vote yes on that, that's easy. But when you got sensitive topics and nobody really talks about it, they want to put it to a committee, let's change the words here, let's do that there. You know, it doesn't make us look good. But, you know, vote your heart on this. You know, people were wrong for years, public display. You know, just think about that time in that era. If the roles were reversed, you wouldn't like it. You know, so just put yourself in the shoes and the clothes of those individuals that were wrong, and then sit back and say, well, I can go with this because I wouldn't want myself to be done that same way. That's all I had.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I may reiterate my, I don't know if it's called a compromise, but I think Commissioner Young tried to make a compromise, but I know when we had the discussions on the monument, we set up a citizen subcommittee, and we did a lot of town hall meetings, and a lot of people were able to come out and speak to give their opinion on it. I think when Commissioner Johnson recommends voting your heart, there may be some people that they don't know what exactly happened or how other people feel about it, that I think maybe an education piece may be beneficial for everybody, that maybe not just that they see some elected body vote on something up or down, yes or no, but that some education is provided, and that maybe on both sides of the fence there comes to an agreement of what actually happened, and some people can know in their heart, and then maybe they can change and vote a different way, or see your side of the fence, so to speak. So I think maybe education may be a good compromise. I don't know if it's his committee, but some history for some people that don't know what actually happened could be a good compromise. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Johnson, you back on the board?
Yes, I would like the clerk to read this into the minutes, and then the public can actually hear what the resolution says and see if there's some words that need to be changed or watered down.
Okay. You
Go
want me
ahead,
to
Mr.
Yes, please.
Resolution number 36 of 2022 by the Caddo Parish Commission. A resolution declaring a public apology for bloody Caddo and systemic racism perpetrated on African American citizens of Caddo Parish and otherwise providing with respect thereto. Whereas the African American community in Caddo Parish has endured decades of systemic racism. Whereas that systemic racism includes over 500 lynchings. Whereas Caddo Parish became known as Bloody Caddo for the racist violence in Caddo Parish. Whereas Caddo Parish continues to suffer with a Human Development Index score of 3.56 on a 0 to 10 scale. Whereas systemic white privilege has continued. Whereas Caddo Parish needs to heal from the trauma inflicted upon it. And whereas the healing process can begin with an acknowledgement of and apology for the violence perpetrated on African Americans. Now therefore be it resolved by the Caddo Parish Commission in due regular and legal session convened that the Caddo Parish Commission does hereby offer a public apology for the violence perpetrated on African Americans. Be it further resolved that this public apology be publicized and distributed in and out of Caddo Parish as a step in the healing of the trauma inflicted on African Americans in Caddo Parish. Be it further resolved, if any provision or item of this resolution or the application thereof is held invalid, such invalidity shall not affect the other provisions, items, or applications which can be given effect without the invalid provisions, items, or applications. And to this end, the provisions of this resolution are hereby declared severable. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately. Be it further resolved that all resolutions or parts thereof in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. Approved as to its legal form. And then signatures.
Thank you. Now, I want you to also think about not only the lynchings and the kidnappings, but, you know, just to give you one where you can go find it real quick, where you had Dr. Harry Blake that was down the street on Milam and Little Union. Sent horses in there to get him. Beat him till he was half dead. Thought he was dead. Then you had students from Booker T. Washington that was beat up by the police as well for marching. I mean, it goes on and on and on. But if you feel that that language is too strong, then I'm sorry. I mean, people died. Some people died for no reasons. And to say that you want to organize to help yourself and to help your race, you lose your life. That's unacceptable. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Gage Watts, you back on the board?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. Commissioner Johnson did the very thing that I was about to ask Mr. Clerk to read that resolution aloud. And I do know that this is a very, very sensitive conversation for some of us to have, but as it has been stated, it was a very sensitive time for some of us to live. I was also going to mention the two resolutions that was passed by the City of Shreveport Council with unanimous support, which was the Little Union Baptist Church apology as well as to the students of Booker T. Washington High School. One of the very problems that we have here in Caddo is this commission not being willing to acknowledge these type of situations that causes us not to be able to move forward and not to be able to heal. I know that if we were in a committee setting that we may be more comfortable to discuss which languages are uncomfortable for us to discuss around this horseshoe. I'm amicable to making a resolution that would reflect the body of Caddo Parish. But for us not to be able to point them out during this work session, I think that also raises another issue. I'm thankful that Commissioner John Paul Young offered at least some type of resolution to move forward, but he didn't have any support from the other side to say, yes, I'll second that, or I want to talk about it further. I think what I'm hearing today is that I just don't want to talk about it and I don't want to move forward. And I think that that is in the wrong direction for addressing this issue. Yes, bloody Caddo exists. Yes, we have enough time between now and Thursday to get as much education as you could request about this era that if you don't have knowledge about and you want to support, then you could move this forward to Thursday for further discussion. And that is what I'm asking of you on today. Move it forward to Thursday and get the information. And then if you are not comfortable with what you have learned or making a resolution or an amendment to this resolution, then vote your conviction. But that's what I'm asking of you today. I think that we owe it to the public to say, I wasn't a part of that era either. But I'm willing to say, as an elected official, I feel responsible at this point to help us heal and to move forward. When I go places, I want Shreveport to be known for prosperity, not for death. I want economic development to happen here. I want our land to be able to heal. I want to remove the dark cloud. But it has to start more than just with the conversation. It has to start with a body who is serious about moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage-Watts. Anyone else on the board? Well, then I will make a statement. I know that many horrible things have happened in our community in the past, and that there's been racism and hatred and violence, and I certainly don't condone those types of activities. But I believe in looking forward and moving forward, and I'd like to see us move forward together. And to me, these types of statements, I know that everybody has a different view of things, but from my perspective, these types of statements push us further apart rather than bring us together. So that's just my view, and for that reason, I won't be supporting it. So, anyone else on the board before we vote? Seeing no one, let's vote on whether to forward this to the full body on Thursday or not.
Okay, and that does not pass with 4 in favor and 4 in opposition. That brings us to 9.7, authorizing the reappointment to the North Caddo Hospital Services District Board of Directors to reappoint Ms. Mary Irvin to the North Caddo Hospital Services
Move to
Board.
Thursday.
We have a motion from Commissioner Hopkins, a second from Commissioner John Paul Young to move to advance to Thursday. Would you like to comment?
No.
Okay, let's vote.
I'm on the board.
Pardon? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, I'd like to, in global and advance, this 9.7, 9.8, 9.9, 9.10, 9.11, 9.12, 9.13, 9.14.
Object.
Pardon?
I say I object
So which one?
to putting them all in there. If you want to take all the resolutions together, that's fine, and do the other 2 items separately.
I just said 9.14. I didn't say 9.15. I didn't say 15. I
Right.
went all the way down to authorizing Dr. Martha White, and I stopped there.
You're going to take the special resolutions.
It would be the special resolutions, authorize the authorization of Dr. White as a visitor, the appointment to the North Caddo Hospital Board.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion by Commissioner Johnson to, in global and advance, 9.8, 9.9, 9.10, 9.11, 9.12, 9.13, and 9.14. Seconded by Commissioner Stormy Gage-Watts.
Okay.
All right, any comments? We ready to vote? Let's vote, please.
Okay, that motion carries with 8 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to the next item, which is 8.15. I'm sorry, 9.15. Authorizing an item requesting administration to obtain quotes to remove the live oak tree on the south side of the Caddo Courthouse facing Milam Street, immediately west of the entrance.
Move to advance.
We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson to advance. Commissioner Gage Watts. We have a motion by Commissioner Johnson to advance.
Second.
A second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Commissioner Johnson, would you care to comment?
So this is part of the trilogy. Basically, the monument is gone. The tree that was used for lynching, this is the tree. And then the apology. So for some citizens in Caddo Parish, it's difficult for them to still go to the courthouse when they have witnessed lynchings. To see someone hanging from a tree is something that traumatizes a lot of people. And what I was trying to do in this particular one is try to make it right. Having the tree removed and then also planting a tree. Planting something like a magnolia tree that would stand in its place, that would stay flower. It would give out a pleasant smell, and it would be different. It would stand out as opposed to all the other trees that are there on the courthouse grounds. Yeah, this stuff should have happened a long time ago. You know, the removal of the trees, the statue, an apology. It should have happened way long time ago. But the people at that time did not have, I would say, the courage to do it, and they didn't want to do it because of the way they was brought up, I want to say. But at some point in time, things should be right of all the wrongs that have happened. It's not going to happen overnight, but this is decades now since that has taken place. And, you know, I would think that at this time that everyone would step up and say, yes, we need to do this. Instead of finding a way that, no, we don't need to do it because of multiple reasons. Why would we do that? It's been there for so long. But we got to be, I would call, game changers. You know, if we're not going to be game changers, then we just down here pushing buttons and going along with status quo. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Anyone else on the board?
Sure.
Commissioner Gage Watt.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to say to Commissioner Johnson publicly that I'm very proud of your courage that it takes to bring up this issue about those trees. And again, I'm sure that many people are not aware that those trees were used for lynching in Caddo Parish. And that is why we presented this as a multi-pronged approach. We're moving forward in one direction, and we have an opportunity to take a stance in all directions. So I just wanted to say to you, thank you for bringing this forward. With or without support from the full body, we brought it to the public's attention. And whatever we need to do to continue to fight, we will. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gage Watts. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. While we were discussing another topic, somebody sent me a text message that said that Pastor Blake had horse feces rubbed in his face in that situation that you were mentioning. So there's a lot, obviously, that people don't know about in that situation. I think that education piece may help to spread what happened. On the tree agenda item, I want to ask Dr. Wilson. I heard two different stories that the tree was given as a gift in around 1900s, like 1904, but that the lynchings and the hangings were before the 1900s, back in the 1800s. So I wanted to verify, are we accurate that this is the tree? That this tree is indeed the tree that this occurred on? Just for clarification of the body.
Commissioner Shepard, we would have to research that one because I'm unaware of the data surrounding what you're saying. Yeah, but we would have to research it and then get back with you.
Okay.
I absolutely don't know.
Okay. Okay. If this is a point of pressure and issue, I can understand Commissioner Johnson's intent with this. I think the concession of a magnolia tree would be nice, but I want to indeed figure out if this is the right tree. If we could be willing to wait to find out that information for sure, and if it is a pain point, if it comes back that it is there, then we can revisit this. Of course, I've already spoken, so I can't make a motion, but that's just something I could offer up to the board. Thank you, President.
Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Commissioner Johnson.
You got Hopkins. He hadn't spoken yet.
Commissioner Hopkins, sorry.
Okay. I was going to say that according to my studying on the history of it, Judge Fletcher Bell donated those trees. They were seedlings in 1904, and they were put in. It's one of those things I can't see cutting down a tree. The tree didn't do anything, but I would say that there is an opportunity that why don't we take a display or something inside the courthouse and educate the public, white and black, Hispanic, Asian, about what happened. Auschwitz was one of the worst places on earth, and they kept it so it would never happen again. And maybe that's the way we need to be looking at that, something differently where we're educating the people that this happened, but we need to make sure it never happens again. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Hopkins. Commissioner Johnson, are you back on the board?
Yes, I was.
Okay, go
I just
ahead.
wanted to let Commissioner Chavez know that those lynchings continued until the 1950s. Not just the 1800s, but the 1950s. And Caddo is, in Shreveport, Caddo, we had 389 at that courthouse. That's a lot. Second to another city, small city in Arkansas. So we're not talking about, we're at the bottom of a category. We're up high, and that's why it was called Bloody Caddo. So I think we need to educate ourselves up here first to be able to get the right vote, and then you can get the public educated. But these are some things that are in our community that some people don't want to remember, some people don't want to learn about, but it happened. And so being that it happened and people know about it, we need to address it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Commissioner Young.
Thank you, Mr. President. When I was growing up, I read a religious poem about nature, and the most famous line in it is, "Only God can make a tree." People kill them a lot, but they never do anything to harm people. Trees don't tie knots. Trees don't hate people based on their skin color. Taking out revenge on a tree because it's a symbol means that we are symbolizing something voluntarily when we could not. We could choose to forgive the tree the way our God tells us to, even though the tree is an inanimate object. I don't think that this is a rational way to deal with the trauma of lynching by destroying a being that can give shade on that spot for another 1,500 years, because these trees can live that long here in our climate. So I'm going to vote no on this, and every time it ever comes up again. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Talaferro.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very interested. I'm very humbled that we do have Black History Month, because without Black History Month, I would not be as educated as I am, even having been born in Shreveport, about the the situations of our black residents in Caddo Parish and across the nation and the world for that matter. But I don't think that, well, while I believe it's painful, it's a painful history, I don't believe it's our responsibility to attempt to eliminate everything that is embarrassing in our history. And we must acknowledge that it is truly man's inhumanity to man. And that is global. It is right here in Caddo. It has gone on for quite some time. But I agree that you know, to try to eliminate those pieces of history that we should be learning from, and I agree with Commissioner Hopkins, is that maybe the best thing is to allow people to be educated. I spoke with a gentleman who I ran into him on Texas Street while we were talking about the monument, and this is before I came on the commission. And he was a black gentleman with his son. He says, if you remove everything to do with our colorful, embarrassing history, then how am I to teach my child? So in other words, I think things in public display are a great opportunity for education, and not to be hidden, not to be destroyed, and not to, it is embarrassing. It is shameful what we have done to another man. But I just don't think it's our responsibility to try to eliminate everything that we possibly can to try to make things right, because it'll never be right. We can possibly be whole, but we can never make it right. We can never make that injustice go away. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Commissioner Talaferro. Commissioner Chavez.
Thank you, President. I was just going to ask, what is the intention of this, to take that tree and remove it and transplant it somewhere else, or to destroy it? I didn't know because of
Commissioner Johnson will field that
Cannot be
question.
moved.
Okay.
Well, this is primarily, it's not even to cut the tree down, it's to go out and get quotes on how to remove it and removing the tree. So removing the tree would be to cut it down.
I didn't know if it was
Did
similar.
you say removing the tree would be to cut it down?
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna
I don't think you can
that
transplant
tree
a
somewhere else.
No, it's not a 118-year-old.
No, you won't do that. I mean, it will be cut down.
It's huge.
Okay. Commissioner
So this
Chavez?
request is just for them to go out and get quotes on cutting it down. That's all. We still had to come back with another one. We had to come back with an ordinance to allocate funds to do it. So it's on y'all.
Okay.
That's all. Thanks, President.
Is that it?
Just kidding,
All right.
Commissioner.
Seeing no one else on the board, let's vote to either advance or not advance this item to Thursday.
Okay, and that item does not carry forward. It has 3 in support and 5 in opposition. That brings us to the next item, which is 9.16, requesting that the flags are moved to half-mast until Marshal Charlie Caldwell is laid to rest.
Move to advance.
Second.
And
A motion by Commissioner Johnson to advance and a second by Commissioner Stormy Gage Watts. Any comments, Commissioner Johnson?
well, I know we vote on this Thursday, but I would like to see it done before Thursday if possible.
Well, execute it anyway.
Okay.
Commissioner Chavez.
I know Marshal Caldwell also has his own flag that's out there at the marshal's office. If we could fly one of his flags too on our property.
I don't know what the protocol is on that. I'll defer to.
It has to be lower than the American flag,
Yeah.
but if it's available, that's all, President.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Chavez. Anyone else? All right, let's vote, please.
That motion carries with 8 in support and none in opposition. That brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Anyone? Please, if you have comments, please get on the board. Commissioner Johnson.
Yeah, we did have appropriations meeting today, basically going over the new policy and guidelines on the appropriations application. So things will be changing. I think staff is gonna get you the policy out before Thursday because it falls under old business. So please review it. And if there's any questions, you can either direct them to me or to Haley, and we can talk through those. But I really don't want to spend an hour on it in a regular session meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. Seeing no one else on the board,
That brings us to citizens' comments, late arrivals. I have not received any, at this point, citizens who wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning are asked to fill out a comment card located in the chamber foyer and can return it in box here, and comments are limited to 3 minutes. Seeing none, consent agenda.
we may have.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Mr. Lee?
Did you want to make a public comment? I mean, this is a time where we can do public comments, so, and I have a form from you already.
Hello, Mr. Lee.
Once again, Craig Lee, 1112 Prospect. The sad part about, I got back to Shreveport in 1994 as a pharmaceutical sales rep, and I'm a student of history. So I knew when Commissioner Hopkins said what he said, I knew he was lying. So I went on and pulled this up. So I'm going to send this to everybody about Auschwitz. And it's about the demolition of the gas chambers. Now, he went on public record and he said that they preserved the gas chambers in Germany. That is a lie. So I'm going to read this for you. The first crematorium and gas chamber and the 2 bunkers were withdrawn from use in 1943 when the 4 large crematorium and gas chambers in Birkenau went into operations. They destroyed the gas chambers in 1943 and in 1944. See, if we were discussing this as it relates to European Jews, this would not even be up for discussion. This only comes up when you're talking about African American individuals, and we have individuals who don't know the history. And I appreciate Commissioner Chavez, because at least Commissioner Chavez says he doesn't know. But Commissioner Hopkins, for you to sit up and say that, and you knew you didn't know, but you were just saying that to try to advance your point, is completely wrong. It's completely wrong, and this is why Shreveport Caddo is in the position that we're in at this stage in the ball game, period. And that's Elaire, Arkansas, Commissioner Johnson. If you go to the African American Museum in Montgomery, Alabama, the number 1 and the number 2 counties in the United States for murdering African Americans, Caddo Parish and Bossier Parish. Caddo Parish and Bossier Parish. And the only reason that Elaire, Arkansas is ahead of it is because they murdered over 300 African Americans in one night because white folks said that we just gonna kill up black folks. So when you state history, Commissioner Hopkins, make sure you know what you're talking about. Because when you go on record with me, I'm gonna fact check you, because what you said was categorically incorrect. Now, you all can do what you want to do, but you're on position as it relates to these things, and all of you know, if there was anything disrespectful to any European Jew in this city or in this country, you know what the response would be. It only comes up this way when it comes to African American individuals. I don't tap dance around these situations. I speak straight up, real. I did the same thing in corporate America, because if you are not willing to have these serious conversations, you're never going to progress. And this is where we're going right now in this city, in this state, in this country, because we cannot move forward because truth telling doesn't want to go on. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. All right, anyone else? Mr. Clerk, is that takes us to the end of the agenda?
That brings us to consent agenda, where those items are listed, and
we have a motion to
adjourn as
adjourn.
appropriate.
All in favor, say aye.